Well, hello. We're going to look at an animal called a cicada. It's a little bit like a cricket, and I've practiced that pronunciation. I've been given advice. That's how you say it, cicada. So let's have a look what's amazing about this little animal. Some of the details are there, but the one I want to focus on is the last one. And it says there are two kinds of cicada, and they live in the ground for 13 or 17 years, and then thousands, millions of them wake up at the same time in a given area, and they do their life cycle, and then they go and live back in the ground again for that period of time. Let's look a little bit more. So what happens? Well, they live all these years in the ground, and then they come out roughly the same time when the temperature is about 18 degrees Celsius. And they go through, they're called nymph stages. Over that long period of time, about 5 times they do that in the ground. A little more information. So they're not a very nice looking picture, but periodical cicadas do so by counting the seasonal pulses of the trees and the plants in the ground. That's how they supposedly figure out 13 or 17. So in the summer, the feeding is good, and then they know that's 1, and they count all the way up to 13 or 17. So just that on its own is quite stunning. You'll enjoy the explanations clever people have come up with, and then I'm going to have one at the end of what I think it might be. Here we go. So explanation number one. One common theory has to do with avoiding predators. So the life cycles, and particularly those that are prime numbers, so 13, 17 are prime numbers, are more difficult for predators to match, making it impossible for them to get used to eating cicadas. But Colley, that's the gentleman that's researched this, says this theory is flawed because they don't have 11 or 19-year cycles, both prime numbers, yet these are prime numbers too. So it's deemed not a great argument, but there you go. Explanation number 2. Other studies have targeted the glacial cycles. Cicadas prefer warm weather, don't we all? The theory goes, so perhaps the extreme cold of the last ice age favored the evolution of a longer life cycle. Again, and Colley again questions this. He says, as glaciation would have affected all cicada species and not just those in the US. So he's saying that's not really a good explanation. The next one, the map helps you. It shows you 13-year and 17-year cycles and whereabouts they are in the States. So conditions in North America are ideal for this kind of hibernation. Not just convincing at all, but desperation has kicked in here. There are yearly cicadas, so they come out every year, and then there are others that are these 13 and 17 years. So again, it's not convincing really, I would suggest. The next one is really quite fun. It's an internal clock in the animal. Astonishing. The clock seems likely calibrated by environmental cues, and then it goes on. Stunning. The molecular clock in an animal smaller than our fingernail. Really. I just questioned that profoundly. And then the final one is going to be my God angle. It just points to design, I would suggest. And I put on the notes here, you can read, God is showing off again. What an amazing God. In the book of Romans, in the New Testament, it says, we shall know him through his creation. The scientists really don't know. They've got ideas, but they don't know. And I just a little bias here. I found the earliest recorded periodical cicadas were from the Plymouth Brethren, all the way back in 1633. I was intrigued by the notion that historical records could be helpful in tracking this kind of cycle that they've gone through. So fearfully and wonderfully made. Thank you for listening. God bless.